And so we've reached the end of this questionable Superboy franchise from South Korea. And it was a thing that happened. So let's get this series in the can and move on to something else quickly, which... Anyways. Released in 1992 for the Sega Master System, Superboy 4 is the first game in the series to actually be a game for the Master System and not just an SG-1000 game in Master System shells. This is evident by the fact that the graphics are much more colorful and the scrolling isn't jank bullshit. It's not great, but it's better than what came before. And I'm hoping that translates to an overall better game, though despite the glimmer of hope provided with Superboy 3, which was a step up at least, my expectations are still practically at the Earth's core. But regardless, let's blow this thing and go home or something. Oh, wait. Anyways, in Superboy 4, well, you venture through 16 rounds of platforming action where you get past critters, overcome platforming challenges and hazards, try to figure out which of these paths you can actually walk through because the game is glitched in some places, and then reach the end of the stage where you'll punch a red box to reveal a gem and touch it to move on to the next round. Oh, and you have a very stringent time limit to complete each stage or else you die. Of course, you also die whenever you fall into a pit or touch a hazard in your small state. Superboy can pound blocks to collect coins or reveal power-ups. There's milk that makes you grow big and withstand a hit, but makes you unable to fit tight spaces because you can't duck. There's the glove that gives you a rather flimsy fireball attack that passes through matter and covers a short distance, a step down from the Superboy fireball that acted more like a proper Mario fireball. There's also a boxing glove gimmick that gives you temporary invincibility, but the one drawback is that it removes your fireball tossing ability once it wears off. So you have to decide whether you want a few seconds of powering through a level or sticking with a projectile attack that no longer bounces off the floor but can apparently pass through solid matter, which can help with those hidden piranhas that will pop out whether you're standing close by or not. So there are some natural improvements over the previous entries that are plain as day thanks to the shift in hardware. The scrolling is much nicer, as mentioned, the graphics are considerably improved in terms of color palettes and replicating the stolen assets from Super Mario World, and most of all, Superboy actually looks like an actual boy and not just Mario, since copyright laws were apparently much more touchy by that point, though let's be fair, he's not Superboy and the game still retains a bit of that Mario-ness. Most crucial of all, the buttons are mapped in the proper order, so the 1 button runs and the 2 button jumps, similar to how it works on NES, just the way I like it, and it took them 4 games to figure this shit out. And the controls are generally much more responsive here than in the previous game, so I can semi-confidently run through platforming bits without worry. Now I say semi-confidently because the physics and the jumping still feel a bit off, and also Superboy has a bit of a slippery feel to him that makes precision platforming a less than likely proposition, but still credit where it's due. Things are genuinely looking up for once, and we're slowly but not quite approaching an enjoyable game of sorts here. I mean, I wouldn't call this good, but they were getting there. And then they stopped. But oh well. Now, as repeated ad nauseum in this video, the graphics did see an improvement here and there, and I'm going to be honest here, Superboy 4 does a far better job of translating the Super Mario World assets to 8-bit format than either the Hummer team developed Super Mario World knockoff for the Famicom, or either of the Mario edutainment games from the software Toolworks that graced the Nintendo Entertainment System. Granted, I'd imagine the extra color palette on the Master System helped, but it's still a step up. Now on the other hand, Superboy 4 has some rather forgettable musical tracks and sound effects that are better suited for bowel movements, but yeah, I've got nothing else to say there. Sorry. Overall, Superboy 4 on the Master System ends the series on what I would call the closest thing to ending on a high note as it can get. It's a generally better game in some places while also showing some weakness in other places, and then some things will never be better no matter how many games you blow through or how much of a hardware boost you'll get. Compared to how this series first got started though, you can argue that this is probably the best game by default, and considering the improvements made across the board, I'm tempted to give points for effort if nothing else. It's only unfortunate that they never made another one because I'd be curious to see how much better this could have gotten from here. And Superboy 4 has enough of a base going for it that you could probably squeeze out another game or two that tweaked a few things and generally made for better games as the series went on, if it went on at all. On its own, Superboy 4 is merely okay-ish at best and somewhere within the realm of below average mediocrity at worst by typical platforming standards, but compared to the rest of the series, Superboy 4 may as well have been an odyssey.